others join in as and when they can. So good evening. My name is Farzeen. Some of you may already know me, and for the others, just a small introduction. I am an executive coach, and I've been here in Oman for the last 15 years. I'm the founder of Ascent Consulting. This is an HR consulting firm, and we are based here in Oman for the last 4 years. We specialize in executive coaching, corporate training, HR projects, leadership development. And this webinar, we are partnering with KPI Ladder, that's based in India. And KPI Ladder is a training and HR consulting firm as well. And they're based out of Bangalore. And Mr. Swarna is the director. Over to you, Swarna.
Thank you, Farzeen. A very good evening, everyone. A warm welcome. My name is Swarna. Swarna Tama Ganguly. I represent a company called KPI Ladder. First of all, it's an absolute honor to have you all in this platform. KPI Ladder, along with Ascent Consulting, we deliver customized learning and talent development solutions, focusing on the digital transformation, innovation for leaders, generative AI, cybersecurity, and all other future-ready skills. We together empower the strategic capability building and impactful industry engagements. So we co-create a lot of impactful learning journeys with our clients, ensuring that each intervention is aligned with the personal as well as your business goals. Now, without wasting further time, I'm requesting Farzeen to share a brief introduction of my mentor, Dr. Pavan Soni. Over to you, Farzeen.
Thank you, Swarna. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Dr. Pavan Soni. So Dr. Pavan is an innovation and evangelist by profession and a teacher by passion. Dr. Pavan Soni is the founder of Inflection Point that offers several programs on design, innovation, and leadership. He has conducted over 600 workshops in 180 countries, and he's also the best-selling author of several books like Design Your Thinking, Design Your Career, etc., published by Penguin Random House. Apart from being adjunct faculty at the ISB in Hyderabad, he is also a faculty at the IIM in Bangalore. So Dr. Pavan also writes for several newspapers in India, and he also has a monthly newsletter with over 20,000 subscribers. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Pavan, and we are really excited to hear from him about this exciting topic, innovation for leaders.
Yeah, hi team. Hi everyone. Thank you so much for a wonderful introduction, and glad that I could make it today. All right, so today's session is on design thinking, and what I'll do is I'll share my screen and take you quickly through the overall construct of design thinking. Let me know if my audio is reasonably clear to all of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Cool.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
All right. So let's start off with what is design thinking, and I would straight away get into a very brief description of design thinking. Okay. So design thinking can be thought of as three keywords. The first keyword of design thinking is human centricity. Okay. What I mean by human centricity is instead of looking at things which are product centric, we are looking at a more human centric way of problem solving, in the sense that we are not married to the product. We need to be keeping the human in mind. And often what happens to organizations is that they become process centric. They become regulatory centric, they become profit centric. So human centricity is the key aspect. The second thing is that design thinking is an iterative process. Okay. So what I mean by iterative process is that instead of trying to be right first time, you are willing to be wrong first time. Okay. You're willing to be wrong first time, wrong second time, wrong third time, and maybe over a period of time, you start becoming right. So that is what is meant by being iterative. And the third aspect is it is a systematic. Okay, what I mean by systematic process is that it gives you a very structured way of problem solving, which is a step-by-step model of problem solving. So human-centric, iterative, and systematic. Now, if I have to weave this into some sort of a definition, the definition would be the design thinking is a human-centric, iterative, systematic model of problem solving. So that is what design thinking is essentially. So this is as far as the definition is concerned. Okay. Now, what we try and do is we try to understand the process model of design thinking, and I'll give you a sort of a case study video to make you understand how design thinking is practiced. Okay. So this is the process model of design thinking. Now, let me quickly take you through each and every step of the process model. The first step is called as inspire. Now, inspire is a stage where we are trying to understand that what is the motivation behind solving a particular problem. Why are we trying to solve the problem? And often what happens is that the why of problem solving is not very clearly depicted. We are often worried about the how of problem solving, but why is the big ticket item. So in the inspire stage, we use the fundamental question, which we say is to why to solve the problem. Okay. That is what is the inspire stage all about. All right. Why to solve the problem. And the reason why to solve the problem is very critical is because if the problem is not important enough, there is no point in solving it. And often what I've seen in many organizations is that, I've engaged with more than 180 organizations, and this is perhaps my 600th or 650th session on design thinking alone. And what I've discovered is that in many organizations, people try to solve the problem without understanding which problem is worth solving and why to solve the problem. So I think that's the first step of design thinking, which is why to solve the problem. The second step of design thinking is what we call as empathize and define. And in the empathize and define space, we are trying to understand the real need of the customer by trying to spend time with the customer instead of trying to hypothesize. So one of the distinctive features of design thinking is to empathize with the customer and try to understand the real need of the customer. And define in the sense that we have to narrow it down to a more manageable, palatable size. The third stage is where we are generating ideas, and here the key is quantity over quality of ideas, which means that if I need a good quality of ideas, I need to start with a very high number of ideas. So this is where the ideation stage is. Once I've done the ideation stage, we get into what we call as rapid prototyping and testing. And here the ethos of rapid prototyping and testing is that we need to sort of try out ideas with customer, which means instead of trying to pick ideas randomly, we try to work with the customer and then trying to understand that which ideas make more sense. And finally, the winning ideas get scaled, which is the ultimate impact. Okay. So these are the stages of design thinking. So we start with inspire, empathize, ideate, prototype, test, and then finally scale. Now to demonstrate how it works, what I'll do is let me show you a video. Okay. This is a very, very interesting video which talks about how design thinking works in practice. And this is what we call as the Idea shopping cart. Idea was a design thinking or is a design thinking consulting company which was founded by the gentleman by the name David Kelly. And David Kelly is often considered as the person who coined the term design thinking. So design thinking as a term was coined somewhere in 1970s. David Kelly went on to start the Stanford Design School in 2004, and that is where this particular topic get more popularized. And a lot of books have been written on the topic. I'll share my own book and some insights from the book as we go along. Okay. So if you're all ready for the video, what I'll do now is I'll open up a video for all of you. Okay. Can you please give me a thumbs up if that is a good idea? If you're okay to watch a video. It's a short piece, but extremely, extremely insightful. And this will give you a perspective on how you can really go about understanding design thinking. Okay. All right. So here is a video. Let me know if you can hear the audio clearly enough and if you can see the screen. Okay. Maybe Farzeen can give me a thumbs up if the audio and the video is relatively. I'm going off my video so that we can save some bandwidth. Okay.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. No worries.
So it's a 8 minutes video. So
Okay.
you have to watch this video and do take notes, because at the end of the video, I'll ask you questions as to what you have understood. Okay.
All right.
Let me know the audio is okay.
Tonight, the deep
It's
dive.
good.
One company's secret weapon for innovation. We went to Ideate, the product design folk, and said, take something old and familiar, like, say, the shopping cart, and completely redesign it for us in just 5 days. ABC News correspondent Jack Smith tells us what happened next.
9 in the morning, day one, and these people have a deadline to meet.
So welcome to the kickoff of the shopping cart project.
This is Palo Alto, California, in the heart of Silicon Valley, and these are designers at Ideate, probably the most influential product development firm in the world. Ideate has designed everything from high-tech medical equipment to the 25-foot mechanical whale in the movie Free Willy, and the first computer mouse for Apple. Smith ski goggles, Nike sunglasses, NEC computer screens. Hundreds of products we take for granted.
The point is that we're not actually experts at any given area. You know, we're kind of experts on the process of how you design stuff. So we don't care if you give us a toothbrush, a toothpaste tube, a tractor, a space shuttle, you know, a chair. It's all the same to us. We want to figure out how to innovate by using our process, applying it.
Project leader is Peter Skillman, a 35-year-old Stanford engineer. Project leader because he's good with groups, not because of seniority. He's only been at Ideate for 6 years. The rest of the team is eclectic, but that's typical here. Whitney Mortimer, Harvard MBA. Peter Coughlin, linguist. Tom Kelly, Dave's brother, marketing expert. Jane Fulton-Suri, psychologist. Alex Kazaks, 26, a biology major, who's turned down medical school 3 times because he's having too much fun at Ideate. Safety emerges early as an important issue.
22,000 child injuries a year, and so they're hospitalized injuries. I mean, there are many others.
And theft. It turns out a lot of carts are stolen. As the team works, it becomes clear there are no titles here, no permanent assignments.
And the other side gives us a lot of help, says, be safe. I'll give you a big red ball on a post, and that says you're a big guy. If you got a ball, you're a senior vice president. You know, what do I care? The desk, the red ball, it's all the same. In a very innovative culture, you can't have a kind of hierarchy of here's the boss and the next person down, the next person down, the next person down, because it's impossible that the boss is the one who's had the insightful experience with shopping carts. It's just not possible.
The team splits into groups to find out firsthand what the people who use, make, and repair shopping carts really think.
Okay, go.
The problem with the plastic cart is the wind catches it. Yeah. And these things have been clocked at 35 across the parking lot.
Oh,
Man.
that's actually a pretty good point. The trick is to find these real experts, and so that you can learn much more quickly than you could by just kind of doing it the normal way and trying to learn about it yourself.
From everything I read, these things aren't that safe either, you know? So probably the seat itself is going to have to be redesigned.
One of the interesting things for me is looking at how people really don't like to let go of the cart, except for the professional shopper, whose strategy is to leave the cart at various places.
3:30 in the afternoon, and the group is back at Ideate. There is no let-up.
Each team is going to demonstrate and communicate and share everything that they've learned today.
A shopping cart has been clocked at 35 miles an hour traveling through a parking lot in the wind.
We were in the store, 2 hours, and it was truly frightening just to see the kind of stuff going on.
You ought to designate some people to make damn sure that the store owner's point of view is represented.
After 9 straight hours, the team is tired. They call it a day.
So,
Everybody cool?
well, that's great. Thanks a lot. We had a great time today. Yeah.
Ideate's mantra for innovation is written everywhere. One conversation at a time. Stay focused. Encourage wild ideas. Defer judgment. Build on the ideas of others.
That's the hardest thing for people to do, is to restrain themselves from criticizing an idea. So if anybody starts to nail an idea, they get the bell, you know.
The ideas pour out and are posted on the walls.
Oh, the blind, the privacy blind. Like when you're buying 6 cases of condoms, no one sees. So if it doesn't nest, we don't have a solution.
Organized chaos. It's not organized. What it is it's focused chaos.
Vote with your Post-it, not with an idea that's cool, but with an idea that's cool and buildable. If it's too far out there and it can't be built in a day, then I don't think we should vote on it. Enlightened trial and error succeeds over the planning of lone genius.
Enlightened trial and error succeeds over the planning of the lone genius. If anything sums up IDEO's approach, that is it. Worried that the team is drifting, what can only be called a group of self-appointed adults under Dave Kelly holds an informal side session.
4 or 5 teams. 4 or 5 teams, and we give each team a need area. It becomes very autocratic for a very short period of time in defining what things people are going to work on.
If you don't work under time constraints, you could never get anything done because it's a messy process and go on forever.
Back at the shop, it is 6 o'clock, and the 4 mock-ups are ready for showing.
Baskets also can be, if you think you will have more volume, baskets can be put in.
A modular shopping cart you pile hand baskets onto. A high-tech cart that gets you through the traffic jam at checkout.
That you could mount a scanner on the shopping cart so that you as the customer, as you pull it off the shelf, would scan each item.
One that's built around child safety, and another that lets shoppers talk to the supermarket staff remotely.
Yeah, where can I find a yogurt?
But the adults, again, decide more work needs to be done before the mock-ups can be combined into one last prototype.
Why don't we have all the carts come up here for a second?
I think you take a piece of each one of these ideas and kind of back it off a little bit and then put it in the design.
The design is still not there. But there's another motto at IDEO: fail often in order to succeed sooner. And some of the team will be up half the night trying to put together a design that finally does work.
There it is! There it is! So we took the best elements out of each prototype.
The cart, which is designed to cost about the same as today's carts, is different in every other way.
What do you think?
Well, I'm very proud of the team. I think it's great.
Does this work for you?
Works for me great. It's also beautiful.
The cart's wheels turn 90 degrees so it can move sideways. No more lifting up the rear in a tight spot. And you shop in a totally different way. The bags are hung on hooks on the cart's frame. Remember, there is no basket here.
At first, I was a little shocked, but I think you have some fantastic ideas here. It needs a little refining, but I think that it's great. I mean, we would want them.
She also gave us some really good comments about how we can make this thing better.
A lot of hours. Also, an open mind, a boss who demands fresh ideas be quirky and clash with his, a belief that chaos can be constructive, and teamwork, a great deal of teamwork. And these are the recipe for how innovation takes place. This is Jack Smith for Nightline in Palo Alto, California.
Okay, team, so this was the design thinking video. I hope you found this video useful. Now let me ask you a few questions, okay, which is going to be of immense use to you. The first question which I have is about the team. So can any one of you tell me, or maybe a couple of you can tell me, what is your observation about the team? Tell me. What's a good team for a design thinking exercise? Go ahead, guys. What is a good team like in design thinking?
Hello, doctor. This is Christine here.
Hi, Christine.
Hi. So something that I noticed from the video, and I think that is essential for a team, is I think they had a very diversified group. So not all of them came from a business perspective. You did have those biomedical engineers. You had an engineer. You had an MBA.
Yeah.
So so that I think helps, especially when it comes to design and innovation. It helps these kind of people to come up with different ideas. It helps them to come up with different perspectives.
Diverse, very good. So diversity in terms of educational, right? Educational, and what's the other diversity that we saw? Education diversity.
Age diversity as well, I would
Age,
say.
gender. Right. What else?
Lack of hierarchy. Hi,
Very good
Dr.
point.
Pavan, Dr. Ashik here.
Lack of hierarchy or missing hierarchy, I would say, or flat hierarchy, right?
Flat hierarchy, yeah.
Very good point. Very good point. Okay, what else?
Ability to seek out expertise and know-how from the domain experts. And the ability to actually ideate any problem that's solved, that's thrown at them irrespective of what industry it's coming from. I think that's a huge point of strength for the team.
I second you completely. Very good point. As a matter of fact, there was nobody who was a shopping cart expert, you see, right?
Yes,
so there was no
true.
shopping cart expert. We had experts from all diverse fields, but there was nobody from shopping cart industry, which means that they learned the nitty-gritties of shopping cart industry from the experts outside their domain. Okay, so that is good. Very good point. Anything else about the team that comes to your mind?
See, they were encouraging all sorts of ideas, irrespective of whether it stood the ground or it should, whether it was good or bad, or at the same time there was an element of control exercised by a core team, which was directing the team's work towards a common endpoint.
Very good. Managed chaos, encouraging radical ideas. Okay, fantastic. Okay, others in the team, any other observation that you would like to share about the team? Anything which you don't see usually in the organizations which you saw here?
They were very relaxed, very informal.
Informal. Good point. Good point, Farzeen.
Yeah, so it wasn't like a typical office kind of setup, it was a very relaxed, open setup, I think, which kind of encourages fresh thinking, open-mindedness, creative thinking, perhaps.
Correct. Good point.
Lack
Any
of
other
fixed roles. There was no fixed roles for people. They were not put in boxes. There was free flow of ideas which could integrate.
Good point. What else?
I don't think there was a team leader as such. There was no designated team leader.
No annotated team leader. Good point. What else? And even if there was, but he was not the oldest. For example, there was this chap who was good with managing team, but not necessarily senior most guy. It was a skill, not his tenure, that defined. Good. Okay, let's look at the whole aspect of empathizing. How did they empathize with the real problem? How did they understand what the real problem is? What was the approach they took here?
So they went to the
spoke
field.
to the customers. They spoke to the
visited
customers. They spoke to the
field visit.
people who deals with in that particular field.
Yeah, good point. Okay, others, I would like others to also chime in, right? Because this was a very common day example I have taken, shopping cart, and no rocket science there. I'm sure you would have gotten some insights as well, right? What else? How else did they understand the real issue? And when you say customer,
sorry,
please
you were
go
mentioning
ahead.
about child injuries. The current design was posting
Data collection, right, on things like child injuries. Good point. Or theft. Correct. Good point. Now, when you say customer interaction, who was the customer? Only shopper? Was only the shopper the customer?
No,
the
even
retailer
the
as well.
employees in supermarkets, people
So when
who
you
dealt
say,
with the problems. Yes.
what do you call all of them as? What's the catch-all phrase?
Stakeholders?
Good point. Stakeholders. Good point. Now let us look at all the stakeholders they spoke to. So they spoke to shoppers, store employees, manager. Who else did they spoke to? Did they speak to? Shoppers, store employees, managers. Anybody else they spoke to? Anybody they visited which was interesting?
people who, like the security people outside who
Good
move
point.
the carts.
Security, good. Anybody else?
Parents with precious bundles.
Yeah. Again, that will be shoppers, but different type of shoppers. You're right. So across age group, across maybe disabilities, but you're still missing out a very important stakeholder. A very critical stakeholder you're missing out. Who was that?
The company who hired them to do this?
Correct. Yeah. IDEO, yes. Or the company, you're right. So I attributed the store manager
Okay.
as a proxy of the company. But still there is one more important player with regards to shopping cart. Who is that?
The customer.
Yeah, customer is a shopper, yes.
Children?
Again, children would be considered as the shoppers.
Yeah.
The man who pays for it, the financials, the costing.
Yeah, so managers would encompass all of those, that side of the equation.
Delivery people?
No. Still one a very critical stakeholder we are all missing here. Who's that?
Manufacturers of the shopping cart.
Exactly, manufacturer. Very good point. And apart from manufacturer, there's one more. I know I'm pushing you because you had just 8 minutes of exposure to that video. And that's why observation is a very core skill of design thinking. You need to be very good in observation skills. Manufacturer, and there's one more.
Cost?
No,
No.
cost is not a stakeholder, no. You said cost?
Yeah.
No, it has
So
to be a
facts
human
to
being. A
consider.
stakeholder is always a human being.
The retailer who sells the product to the supermarket.
Yeah, I can give that. Yes, absolutely. So retailer, I can. Still, there is one more very important stakeholder.
Service personnel.
Very good. Or
Seller.
Or repairman. Okay, the guys who repair the shopping cart. Now, why is the repairman and the manufacturer critical? What insight can they offer to the team who has no understanding of shopping cart business?
No, it's
Preventive
easy to make
maintenance.
a radical design, but it has to be reproducible and scalable to fit the present manufacturing standards or the machinery available.
Yeah, exactly. So that I don't make anything which is so radically different that nobody can manufacture it. Okay. And that is called feasibility test. Because often what happens is when you are trying to innovate something, you might be so off the grid that you might come up with such a radical idea that there is nobody who can manufacture that radical idea. Okay. Which means that there is a competing demand when it comes to design thinking. As a side note, we have a competing demand. And what is the competing demand? The competing demand is of 3 attributes. The 3 attributes are as follows. The first attribute is called as human desirability. Okay. If you will, you can think of it as a cornerstone of design thinking. The first attribute is called as human desirability. Now, what is meant by human desirability? What's the meaning of the word human desirability here?
That humans like it?
And human doesn't mean customer. Please understand. Human means human. It is everybody. Now, there is no point in coming up with a very fantastic design that the customer likes, but the manufacturer can't manufacture. Or manufacturer can manufacture, but the repair person can't repair. Or both of them can, but it is cost prohibitive for the manager to use it because there's a consumable. It's not something that you and me pay for. It's a consumable in the shopping. Okay. You can have all of that tick mark, but it can be so flimsy that it does not sort of is doable, or it's very easy to steal, which means security guards will have a problem. So I have to consider all of their demands, and that is human desirability. The second aspect is called as technical feasibility. What is technical feasibility?
It should have a required set of components, which let's say hooks to hold the bags, small places to keep the small baskets. The functionality should be represented across the customer's needs.
Yeah. Or just take customer out for a moment. Think about technical feasibility. What is, because the customer is taken care in the human desirability aspect of the equation. What is the technical feasibility?
Can you make it?
Ah, very good. Can you make it? It's lovely. That's a fantastic way of putting it, Farzeen. Can you make it? Can you pull it technically? For example, if I look at the electric car, what is a desirable feature in electric car? Something that a customer would love to have in electric car.
Long range.
Mileage.
Yeah, all long range. Because since it's electric, right word is long range, or possibly what we call as they have to come out of range anxiety. There is a phrase called range anxiety. Range anxiety means I do not know. Can I go for a long drive using this car? Now, can I have a battery which gives me a range of say 10,000 miles in a single charge? Is it desirable?
Very ambitious.
Ambitious, absolutely. But is it technically feasible as of today?
No.
Similarly, solar powered cell phones. Is it desirable?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it technically feasible?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. That is where it has to also marry. So when you speak to manufacturers and repairmen, you are also trying to assess the technical feasibility of what you're trying to do. And that is where it is very important that you are taking a well-rounded view of the entire problem. You're not narrowly looking at only the customer side of the equation. Otherwise, this is the state of many startups today. The reason many startups are perishing is because they are so much in love with their customer. They're so close to the customer that they are far away from the practicality of the situation. Which brings me to the third critical dimension, which is called as business viability. What is business viability?
Costing predominantly with regards to the sustainability of the product.
Yeah, good. Or if I put it in a simple phrase, does it make
sense, business sense?
Exactly. Does it make business sense? And no marks to guess that if I look at the startup arena, where do they falter mostly? First, second, or third?
Viability most.
Third, business viability. Okay. And they often think that once the customer comes, cash will flow. But that's not always the case. And I'll give you a couple of examples that even if customer comes, that does not mean you will end up making a lot of profit. Because if customer get a better option, they'll opt out of what you have to offer. Okay, a good example that we have at hand is Twitter. Okay, initially before Twitter was taken over by Mr. Elon Musk, Twitter had many features in terms of making revenues, especially the blue tick or some of the other subscription features, etc. But with other alternate mechanisms of knowledge disbursement, like Instagram, people are leaving Twitter. Same happened with a social networking site called Orkut. Orkut came many years before Facebook came. I do not know how many of you are familiar with Orkut, but in India, Orkut was quite a rage in early 2000s. And a lot of folks discovered their old friends using Orkut. But then Orkut faded away. They could never make profits. Okay. So all these three things have to come into play. Okay, coming back to my shopping cart example. So I empathize by talking to people. All right. The very important aspect of empathizing is that do you empathize by calling customer to your office or do you go to the customer's site? What is a good way of empathizing?
I mean, it depends on the business, but it's always generally we go to customer's place.
Right? We have, yeah. Very good, Ganguly. It depends on the business, but in a context where the problem has a contextual dimension to it, we need to go to the context. So the critical thing about empathizing is understand the problem in its native context. What does it mean? What's the meaning of that phrase? Understand the problem in its native context.
Sort of go to the roots of it all, basically. So when you're trying to understand your customer, understand them at the center itself, like what are the issues that they're facing, or what are the positives that they're facing. Basically, go to the roots of it.
My daughter
Go to the site where the problem exists.
Go to the site where the problem exists. My daughter is sitting next to me, and having heard me so many times talking about these things, she's really raising her hand that can I answer that question? So maybe in one of those cases, I'll give her a chance also. That's my native context to give you a perspective. So the meaning of native context is go to where the problem is. And in the world of psychology and sociology, moreover, you know what is the word in sociology that defines this phrase? What is it called in sociology? There's a discipline in sociology that looks into it. What is it called? It is never in, it was not mentioned in the video, by the way. I'm just quizzing you. What is it called? Any idea? You can say no, I'll give you the answer, but if you want to take a shot at it, please do so. If you guess, then you are more likely to remember the answer than when I tell it to you. Anyone knows?
No.
Okay. Have you heard this term called anthropology? It's called anthropology. Okay. Anyone can tell me what is anthropology? Any one of you knows what is anthropology?
It's study of people.
Study of people. I think that's a beautiful definition. Beautiful definition. Study of people. That's the most succinct definition that I could possibly get. Well done, Mathu. So study of people, that's called anthropology. It's a dimension of sociology. So in sociology, you study people interactions. In anthropology, you study people habits. Okay. For example, cannibalism or long distance running or certain rituals. For example, in certain tribes, there are very peculiar rituals that they have, which may not make sense to the civilized world. Now, to understand their rituals, you can't float a questionnaire, right? Or you can invite them to your office and have a focus group discussion. You have to go to the native context and understand that why does that ritual make sense in that context, okay? That is called as anthropology. Good. Let's look at the next step, which is called as ideation. Now, what are the best practices that you saw in the video about generating ideas? Can you recall a few best practices? Yeah.
A diverse team looking at various angles of the idea, of the problem.
Yeah, so one is various dimensions of an idea, teamwork, anything which is not usually seen in our offices, something which is so distinct.
No judgment.
Okay, non-judgmental.
I think the process of trial and error.
Okay.
Ability to, given the freedom to criticize an idea, point out the negatives in an idea without being judged for it.
Yeah. Okay, let me give you a hint via the question. What did you see as a dominant practice in the group? Were they speaking their ideas? Were they writing down their ideas? Or were they drawing or sketching their ideas?
Sketching.
Sketching the ideas. Okay. Now, sketching of ideas is not something that we do ordinarily. Am I right? We generally speak our ideas. We don't sketch our ideas. And how much difference does it make? Sketching of ideas?
A picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yes, a picture is worth 1,000 words. What happens apart from it being embellished is the fact that when you are sketching an idea, instead of verbalizing it, you are adding details to it, which makes you think hard about it, how the idea is going to look like in reality. Also, when somebody sees that sketch of yours, instead of hearing you out, the person is able to understand your mind in a better fashion and able to also contribute. And that is where sketching is a manifestation of your thoughts. The sketching of an idea is very critical. Good. Then let's go to the next step, which is called as prototype and test. So a leading question for all of you is this. When they were prototyping and testing, the team that went to the market to understand the problem, the team that generated ideas, and that folks who ran the prototypes, were they the same or different? Tell me, were they the same folks or different folks? Tell
Mix
me.
and match.
Predominantly, what's a good practice? Same or different?
Same.
Same. In fact, most of them, as you rightly pointed out, were same. How does it help if the same people do all the three activities?
Because you are essentially solving the problem which you noticed.
Exactly. Now, what happens in typical organizations is that, are they same?
No.
No. The sales team sells, the marketing team communicates, the design team designs, manufacturing team manufactures, and at each step of the journey, there is a communication gap. Am I right? So what you understood, you're never able to convey to your team. The team that designed, you're never able to run the protos. The protos never become manufactured, and the manufactured things never reaches the end customer. So in prototyping and testing, one of the very simple philosophies is that visibility of end-to-end process. That's extremely critical. You need to have a visibility of end-to-end process. There is no handover error. The second thing is, did they run protos on PPTs or did they make an actual proto in steel?
They
How
made
is
an
it
actual
done?
proto. They made an actual proto.
Actual proto. It was costly. If we saw the people roll their sleeves and they were using a drilling machine, cutters, welders, and all of that contraption to come up with an actual realistic shopping cart. Why is it important to come up with something which is physical manifestation? Why is that critical?
To evaluate properly and have a clarity
Very
on
good.
the.
Very good, Muthu. Because in your mind, you can visualize that this is what shopping cart would look like, and this is what I can put in the shopping cart. But when you actually manufacture it, then suddenly you realize that, oh my God, it looks so heavy. You realize that I can't maneuver it. You realize that it is exorbitantly costly. So prototype has to be realistic. Okay, but cheap and dirty. What do I mean by cheap and dirty? How is cheap and dirty a good attribute for a proto? Make it cheap and dirty.
Isn't that easy to use? I mean,
Yeah. But
So
why
the
do you say
pilot,
dirty? Cheap, yes. Cheap is that should not be costly, but why should it be dirty?
Speed.
For recurrent
You
usage.
want more iterations to happen.
Yeah, very good, Farzeen. You are interested to pack as much learning per unit, time and dollar. That is why it has to be cheap and dirty. Dirty means don't make it elegant. It's not the final product. Don't add the bells and whistles and beautify it. No, that's not the idea. The idea is to identify why it will not work and not to identify why it will work. You're getting the point? A good prototype will give you the confidence that you have ironed out the problems, not the confidence that it looks amazing. And that's why many people don't do prototyping at all. They straight away go to the last step, which is put this into the market and hope, which is called as spray and pray. Spray and pray is the strategy. You spray and then you pray that somebody will pick up your product, but then it hardly happens. Okay. So let me pause here because I thought that in the given time which I have, I should touch upon one concept and run it clearly with you so that you at least have one clear takeaway that design thinking is an extremely systematic process, and the attribute is that you need to understand the customer in the native context. You need to use your hands instead of using your mouth for generating ideas, because we generally think with our mouth. We should not think with our mouth, we should think with our hands. And lastly, when you're making a proto, keep it quick, dirty, and cheap so that you can pack as much learning as you can in a given time and budget. Okay. Now, as a reference, I would like to share this with all of you, which is my book. Okay, so this is my book, which is called as Design Your Thinking. And this particular book talks about most of what I have shared with you today in terms of various case studies and where else these models have been applied. And you can check out the book on Amazon, which is widely available in your respective countries as well. So I'll pause here and then I'll be very happy to take any questions that you may have, and then maybe in another 5 minutes or so we can close it. Yeah, go ahead, team, if you have any questions for me. Yes, you can shoot a question.
Oh, yeah, it's Muthu here.
Yes,
the process is very clear on a project management. Yes, one of the thing is the same team who plan, who design, who walk through, who bring the final solutions for any problem. In certain project, yeah, this is a very good takeaway. In fact, the major problem where we will be having the costing stage, tender stage, and the execution stage. Most of the companies, once at the costing stage, they will show a big profit to the management. While they are executing the contract, they will show a bit of loss. The reason is the people, those who are costing out, they are not part of the designer. That's the reason I think this is the very good takeaway for us. Thank you indeed on that.
Yeah, because we do such a fine division of labor that we say that, you do this, you do this, you do this. And in the process, nobody ever get an understanding of the end-to-end picture. So I think that is where the whole thing suffers. Good point. Yes. Okay, before we go to the next question, would you like to have a copy of this chart which I have created in front of you?
Yes, please.
You'd like to have a copy?
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
All right, so let me try. Just try giving it to you. Okay. I'm sending a PDF document. Let me know if it is available to you. I've sent it on the chat. Okay. You can have a look at it. If it reaches, just give me a thumbs up on the chat.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. It'll be useful to you. It'll be very useful to you, as a matter of fact. Yes. What's your next question, team?
One question is like when I see the basic principles in design thinking, it's almost look like agile concept of the organization. And one question related to this is there any place where this concept will not be applicable? There are many areas
good question.
Applicable.
Yeah, very good question. That's a fantastic question. Sujesh, there are 3 areas in which it is not applicable. The first is where you don't have access to customer. If you're working in isolation, you don't have any way to validate it with the customer. This model doesn't work. What works is things like lean thinking, maybe critical thinking or lateral thinking. Okay, that's the first point. The second point is if you don't have time. One of the essential requirements of using design thinking is that because it needs iteration, you need to have time. Now, if you are on board Apollo 13 and you are running out of oxygen, you can't use design thinking there because you don't have time. You would rather quickly call help and not do anything which is silly. But design thinking necessitates that you do silly stuff, that you are willing to waste your time and resources. That's the second thing. And the third thing is design thinking does not work when you don't have something which is ambiguous. If the ambiguity is not very high, which means that if the clarity is very, very high, you know exactly what needs to be done. Like I have to cross the road. I don't need design thinking because I know that I can cross the road. But if the problem is really complex, and I'll give you a complex problem. One of the complex problems that we are staring at right now is that of global warming, right? Now, global warming is a very complex problem which has many moving parts, and that's where design thinking works. So three things: if the problem is complex, if access to customer is available, and if you have time, these are three conditions in which you use design thinking. Otherwise, you don't use design. But it's a good question nonetheless. So
Thank you so much,
yeah,
sir.
very good question.
Dr. Pavan, thank you very much. It's a very insightful talk. I just needed to ask you, we are talking about a product here. Now, let's take the scenario where we're going to expand it into let's say, a service. And we are looking at feasibility. And most of the times when on a startup or when you're starting a service or a business, you outsource your feasibility study or a market analysis or a financial projection to a consultancy or a firm which does that. Now, how do you ensure? So now the concept where the same team who designs the service or designs the product as meeting the customer and getting the feedback does not work in most startup ecosystems, isn't it? So how do you overcome this problem? How do you actually make sure that the person or the company you outsource the service of getting a market viability or a financial projection is actually in contact with the customer? How do you make that step more in sync with this concept?
The short answer is don't outsource. I think it's too critical a thing to be outsourced. Think of that for a moment. You outsource only those things which are not core to your business. And at the start of a company, I can't think of anything more core than that. Understanding your customer, understanding how feasible the product is in the market is the heart of a startup. Am I right? What are you doing otherwise? So I think the big reason why many of the companies falter is because they tend to outsource the most critical unknown. You should only outsource the known. You should never outsource the unknown. Because imagine the company who is giving you the report is pretty much giving the same report to your competition also, right?
True.
So it's the same knowledge which is available to everybody, which is either that the market is attractive or that the market is not attractive. But what you need is your unique lens, your unique perspective. And I believe that entrepreneurs don't address market, entrepreneurs create market. Nobody really wanted to have a reusable space shuttle, but that's precisely what somebody like SpaceX or something like Blue Origin is doing. I don't think there is a burgeoning market for space tourism, but that is something that Virgin Galactic has created. So entrepreneurship is about creating demand and not addressing demand. In that true spirit, I would sense that you need to be really close to your customer. And unfortunately, what is happening today is that startup founders are chasing investors and not chasing customers. So instead of trying to be close to the customers, they're trying to be close to the investors, which I think is a very, very, I would say, myopic view of running the enterprise. So I think that it is too core to be outsourced. And as a result, you would just get no surprising insights from the market because market doesn't exist. The market has to be created. So that is what my view is. Yeah, I think we can squeeze in one last question and then we call it a day.
So just one more question.
Yes, please.
See, there was a desirability and feasibility. Then we went to the viability part where we made a prototype and it was not viable. But is there any way the feasibility, not only technical feasibility think into, we have to look into the financial feasibility also so that we don't go to the viability part because otherwise we'll be losing the money, time and money there, right? In the viability stage.
So good, yeah. I think business viability means that financial viability. How you can preempt it is by running pilots in a controlled fashion. For example, if for a fully developed product, you think your customer is willing to pay $100. Then can you ensure me that for half developed product, are they willing to even pay $10? One of the classic challenges that we have is that we expect that once I make a full product, customer will pay. But the customer does not know what is full. You know what is full. Am I right? Anything which is new is full for the customer. So instead of waiting for the product to be great or product to be fully equipped, it's very, very important to launch something and see the reaction of the market. And that is where you can really save yourself from making huge commitment in terms of investments. Because you know your product better than the market. So you try to work on the product and make it superior, adding more features, more bells and whistles to it. And that is where you are draining a lot of money. So the way you preempt such massive loss is by ensuring that you are not overtly investing on the product before even showing the first cut to the marketplace. What if the market is not impressed with you at all? What if you have to pivot entirely? So you'll be better off pivoting early than pivoting very late and then killing your brand in the process. And a good example is Dropbox. Years before Dropbox had all the features that we see today, Dropbox had already launched the pilot version in the market for people to test it out, whether it makes sense or not. Same was the case with Gmail. If you remember, the first time you saw the Gmail, what you saw was a Gmail beta. Anyone remembers that? You didn't have a Gmail, it was a Gmail beta. So most customers were using Gmail beta. And you were a sort of a pilot for Gmail. So that is how you kind of come back and make it more viable from a business perspective. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So I guess we can now start wrapping it up. What do you guys say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any words you want to add, Swarna?
Yeah. So I would like to thank everyone, whoever joined and stayed till the end. And also a special thanks to Dr. Pavan Soni for giving your time and sharing your knowledgeable
pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. And also I request everyone, we have shared a feedback link. Probably you can take your time and probably you can share your views, how you liked our sessions. Right? So we have a series of sessions coming up. We'll be very interested to get your feedback, and accordingly we can create more this kind of content.
And of course, and if you'd like to hear more from Dr. Pavan, please do feel free to reach out to us that we can, create a training program for your organization.